Let's begin with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think we'll start with self-introductions to help out the secretary. I'm Kevin Brightsky, Port County Surveyor, and also chair of this committee. Scott, you're right.
Tom Vanderwood, emergency staff.
David Wright, Gary Transit.
Keith Button, City of Hampton.
Brian Lisey, Director in Indiana.
Hashim Al-Hashim, City of Indianapolis, Chicago.
Jeff Hewitt, Sherrville.
Bob Thompson, Valparaiso Transit.
Max Freelander, Valparaiso.
Michelle Verde, Creosote, Northwest Indiana Forum.
Meredith Stillwell, NERC staff.
Scott Pruitt, First Group Engineering.
Doug Ross, for the Post again.
Alex Wesker, Public Fairman Cypher.
Gretchen Smith, Gary Transit.
Maggie McCracken, Indiana.
Steve Pataki, Sierra Group.
Stephen Hughes, NERC staff.
Charles Bradsky, Emergency staff.
Scott Lever, emergency staff.
Grace Bender, NERC staff.
Mitch Barloga, emergency staff.
Melody Shrews, and
Noel Bayer, and
Beth Schrader, SH.
We waited, Beth. Thank you. Just a couple public service announcements before we start. The deer are out on the highways. Be careful, coming and going. Also, NDOT is sending out press release on check your height, know it's right. We have about 40 bridges in the state that get hit a year. Truckers aren't watching how high their trailers are. And I'm hoping that we continue to look into Vision Zero communities. David brought that up before, but I think it's a program worth pursuing. There aren't many municipalities or MPOs that are pursuing this in Indiana anyway, with the exclusion of Indianapolis. So let's get into the agenda. Minutes of the May 5th, 2026.
Move to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussions, corrections?
Note that my name is spelled wrong in those, in the attendance line.
Say it's not so. How long have you been with us?
Somebody spelled it the other way this time.
Okay, we'll make sure that gets corrected. Is that the only correction? With no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And let the record show Ahmad Ibrahim is here with us today with Murphy staff.
Now that prompts the question, who's left to answer the phone with all the NERC staff here?
Oh, they've got more. Did we have vote on that?
Yes, we
Minutes?
Yes.
Thank you. Did we have any public comment today? Yes, not. Anybody want to speak about any of the agenda items today? I'll listen for a few minutes. I guess not. We'll go to the presentations. GPTC 2024-2025 Annual Impact Report. David Wright.
And since there are no public comments, we'll speak longer. I joke. Is it?
Well, we've got the time, David.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. In the past, first of all, those who don't know me, David Wright, Gary Transit, long time listener, long time caller. In the past, we have done, a yearly summary of what we've done in previous years. Our plan was to do that this year. However, before she departed the company, Denise Dillard wanted to do something a bit more substantial, actually do an entire impact report. Take a look at how we had an impact on Northwest Indiana. So we have a pretty robust marketing team. Gretchen Sip is part of Nexus Communications, which is part of that group. Is Jessica going to be doing this? Okay. Jessica Renslow from Nexus, Chelsea Whittington from CWID, Waylon Cooley, a videographer from Creative Perspective. We put together, an analysis of how we had an impact on Northwest Indiana as a public transit corporation. We had interviews with drivers, we had interviews with the public, and this is what we put together. It's live on the website right now. We're trying to get the word out on what those impacts were. So I'm going to get us started. Gretchen and Jessica are going to help us out. We call it In Motion because we're a public bus company. We're a transit agency, as you'll see. This is some of the year in numbers. We're continuing to see an upward increase in ridership as we get out of the pandemic. That relates to actually not just 85, but actually more than 9,000 rides per month. We know about the electric bus we've got on hand, and we're going to be talking a bit more later on about how we're going to be increasing that fleet. But what you're seeing here is a quick rundown of 2024 and 2025 with Gary Transit. This is some of the impact those impacts are having. Getting additional investment, not just from new partners, but existing partners. We get property tax revenue from the city, every year. But last year, we actually got ARPA revenue to help increase and improve our fleet. We have an agreement with IU Northwest where they're using our system to advertise their system, their program where they are forgiving or not charging tuition for Gary High School graduates. These are some of the things, some of the investments that the regional partners are making. We'll talk in more detail about that later on. This is the impact of our electric fleet. You don't think it's much until it is. We're already seeing a decrease in our fuel expenses, but the expenses aren't just a drop, and aren't the only drop when it comes to the impact of the fleet. We're looking at reduction in respiratory illnesses or precipitation of respiratory illnesses. We're looking at a reduction in the amount of carcinogens and other pollution in the air. And this is the impact that transit is having, not just on Gary, but on Northwest Indiana. The impact on the aging population in Northwest Indiana. Actually, Gary itself has a relatively low percentage of aging residents. That's going to be increasing. And the other communities that we serve, that aging population is also increasing. Access 219 allows us to meet those needs. Our fixed route system allows us to meet those needs. Our bike share allows us to meet those needs in this manner. I'm going to do one more slide, and then we're going to get into the fare issues, and then Gretchen's going to help me out. These are our riders at a glance. 60% low income, 23% seniors, which is less than what you think, and 50% without a personal vehicle, which also means that there are 50% of our riders who have a choice, but opt to bring transit and bike share and Access 219 into their sphere of mobility options. Most of our riders are going to work or school. 30% are going to healthcare, which is why it's important for us to have as many connections with hospitals and clinics as possible. And 20% are going to school. We serve several of the colleges and universities in Northwest Indiana. And from there, we're going to talk a bit more about how people pay and what their options are.
Okay, thank you, David. Hello, everyone. My name is Gretchen Sipp, as David mentioned, and I'm here to talk about fares today. One of the things we're here to talk about. So, as you can see by our chart, the standard local rate is $1.60, seniors is 80 cents, and students are $1.25. Now, I don't know if anybody's caught the bus outside of Indiana or outside of Gary, but if you catch the CTA at any point, because I go back and forth to Chicago, and any other place, those fares are incredibly high. So the fact that our local residents can catch a bus for $1.60 and get to where they need to. Students catch for $1.25 is amazing. Of course, we do regional. which is really incredible for Gary public transportation. The fact that you can leave the city and go to another city. If you're in Michigan City, you can't catch that bus going to another city. That is one of the differentiating factors. And so regionally, $2.25. I mean, what is gas today? $3.75. So that is an incredible fare that people can catch. And then the access to a 9, the paratransit, is $2.50. Now, we also have 3 routes that were added. One is West Central via Grant, that is a new route, connecting neighborhoods to universities in West Central area, along with the Crosstown Connector. So that is connecting, linking key destinations across the heart of our service area. So we're talking about, of course, Maryville, Holbrook area, Crown Point, those different areas, they can easily get to those places. And then Lakeshore North, which is our new route expanding across the Lakeshore and nearby communities. And then there is an additional perk to catching the bus. Veterans can ride for free. So they can connect to their families, to their appointments, as David mentioned. Many of them, they can catch the bus, no paperwork, no barriers, no fine. You're a veteran, you can ride for free. All right, so the other thing we wanted to talk about was that transit is part of the economic infrastructure. Of course, that seems like common sense, but just to bring it home, $20 million in household income is supported each year. And that's from the RDA 2040 Economic Activity Projection, right? So we're talking about overall household income. 70 to 75% of our riders travel to work or school, directly impacting the economic infrastructure of Northwest Indiana. So we're connecting those workers, we're connecting visitors and residents to some of the local regions' landmarks, including our Rock Casino. And then, of course, we're going to have the Cumming Convention Center and celebrating downtown Gary's revival as it continues to build. Another key point, of course, this is a familiar term, transit-oriented development. That next chapter. So looking forward, where Gary Public Transportation Corporation is located, we want it to be a central hub, a modern, accessible facility that connects communities and unlocks more investment. Expanding the mobility, including more routes, intercity carriers, potential new services. There is a lot of opportunities here in investing with GPTC. And then, of course, utilizing it as a catalyst for growth. We have seen tourism go up quite a bit, including, for lack of better terms, our Cycle 209 bike share program. That I mentioned what we found out yesterday.
You can talk about the finished bureaucrat. Talk about the finished bureaucrat. I was going to talk about the finished bureaucrat.
Oh, I don't want to say you're going to
talk about the finished bureaucrat.
So, when you think about bikes, I don't know if anybody thinks about bikes except, their grandchildren or children. But, you would never know what people use bikes for. And so we've had some incredible discoveries. One is that bikes are really important at 1 o'clock in the morning to go to Taco Bell. That's one of those key things.
It was a college student.
It was a college student.
I know.
Right. But then we just, received 2 of our bikes that we thought just disappeared in the wind. It was because, was the president or the?
It was a member of the Finnish Ministry of Justice based on their registering email address.
Okay. Yeah. So, Finland? Anyway? They wanted to take part of our Cycle 209, utilize our bikes, and explore the trails. Such an incredible story about tourism in Northwest Indiana.
And regionalism. They went from Lake Street to West Beach.
Right. So, celebrating our beaches. Of course, bringing that up, Cycle 219. Cycle 219, it doesn't, just end with the buses, and it doesn't stop where the bus route ends. Cycle 219, which is our regional bike share, bridges the first mile and the last mile, connecting riders from a bus stop to their front door, classroom, or job site. Now, we have a number of different stations around. One is Calumet College. They have made an incredible investment into the Cycle 209 bike share, and their students utilize the bikes quite a bit. There are many stations going around on the Calumet College of St. Joseph site, and they are going to expand. We have, of course, that partnership, which is $1.1 million that the Calumet College invested into the Cycle 209's expansion.
It's not just Cycle 219, they're also paying for bus transportation. They double the size of the bike share system, and they also double the frequency of the lakeshore routes in the Hammond area. So it's multimodal, but what that investment does.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, of course, we're adding more stations, including Gateway and the Miller Station. So when we talk about the Miller Station, the South Shore. So being able to have a bike station right there at the South Shore train station in Miller as well. We do have them up and down Lake Street and at Marquette Park.
Matter of fact, the Finnish bureaucrat asked whether or not she could go by at the South Shore. I said, you could, but I'd rather you take it to the doctor.
Right. So, partnerships that multiply impact. We can't do this alone. One of the things we just talked about is Calumet College. But we also do it with great partners, including NERC, IU Northwest, Greyhound, the City of Gary, and then even for advertising dollars, Tolbert and Tolbert, which are attorneys in Northwest Indiana.
So they would be first to wrap one of our electric buses. Actually, that contract started before the bus was on the street, so they were early adopters.
And there was a lot of FOMO after they wrapped that bus. People wanted to get their face on the bus. So go figure. But partnerships are the engine behind what we do. Now, we mentioned Greyhound. Greyhound is expanding their operations at the Gary Adams Richmond Metro Center. You know, some people overlook it, but I was directly impacted by that because my daughter's in college. And we use the Greyhound to get her back and forth. Not having to get on the highway 4 hours, let alone gas, was a cost saver for me. Them establishing and continuing their contracts, but then not only that, investing in the Adam Benjamin Metro Center was key. And a lot of people pitched to us. Can you imagine us not having a Greyhound in our region? That is quite, I want to say a perk, but not only that, it is an investment. And that's what Greyhound has decided to do. They have doubled their service growth, they've been in the Metro 40 years, and they have invested.
Yeah, their investment is having an impact on Gary Transit riders and for Navy riders because they're making improvements to the Metro Center itself.
Yeah. And so what we are continuing to do as we spread the news about the impact report and the impact that investment dollars, our people have done is we are going to share the story. So if you are on any kind of social media channels, from Facebook to Instagram, those things you will begin to see the word getting out about with more detail about how these partnerships are met.
Okay. Just some of the quote-unquote boring details. Our fleet size currently is 30. We have 10 new vehicles that we added to the system after the electric buses in 2023. Those were diesels and gas buses. Our runtime performance in 2024 and 2025 averaged about 98%, which is above our danger zone, but there's still room for improvement. And only one safety incident in 2025. Technology, and this is one of the reasons why we've got Nexus and CWIP online. They help spread the word. We had 90,000, almost 91,000 mobile fare users in 2025. We've got 1,400 unique users in that system. We expected 2% usage when we started that in 2018, and it's about 20-25% of our ridership using the app. We have about 19,000 unique visitors to the website, and that doesn't include people who go to Google Maps and Apple Maps to check on our system as well. And as part of that, we're improving our mobile fare network with Quick Fare and Fast Fare, and we're also upgrading our trip planning technology. We did add the Transit app and Apple Maps to our suite of technological resources in 24 and 25. Just some quotes on what kind of precipitated this report, how we want to get the word out about that from Ms. Dillard. She's still a friend of the organization. I'm actually going to meet with her a couple of weeks, I think last week. This is our people. These are our people. 89 average number of employees, 51 bus operators, 25 maintenance professionals, all of them steadily being trained on our new technology and improving. Our ATU, our transit union, 24 members of the local currently. As part of the impact report, we had a day where we interviewed our employees. These are some of the quotes from some of our long-time employees, and some of them who haven't been here for a long time, like Illegal Goodson, and how long he's been here, just a couple of years. But Carol, Mary, Dale, these are not just employees, they are assets, and they are partners, and they're invested in the system, as you can see. This is some of the public dollars that we're getting in the last few years, not including the money that's in the pipeline, which is almost double this. Our cost per passenger trip, we did not reduce our service a lot during the pandemic. We did do some reductions, but we're increasing service now, which means that we're also increasing ridership. So our cost per passenger trip coming maybe 50% higher than it was maybe 5 years ago. But it's going down precipitously now.
Okay, so as David mentioned, there are a number of things moving forward that we are putting in place. Of course, the quick fare launch. One thing we know is that even though sometimes we get annoyed by those little gadgets in our hands called cell phones and laptops, they are vital. And so we're launching quick fare, but we also have a number of different assets that will be tied in technologically wise to make it accessible for people to be able to catch the bus. We also have the trip planner upgrade, which will allow for real-time bus tracking. Right now, as David's seen, that is going on Facebook alerting people, hey, this bus is late, there's issues with this route. But to be able to have an app on your phone that can literally tell you, send you alerts to let you know where the bus is. The new downtown multimodal station, that is where they are focusing their efforts to make sure that the city of Gary's downtown is vibrant and bringing in new people. And then, of course, a cleaner fleet. Wanting to put in 5 new hybrid electric buses by the end of 2028, of course, to further impact our clean air and the air in our surrounding communities. And then, of course, the Cycle 219 expansion, which, of course, we talked about Gateway and Millers, but there are a lot more coming. So we want to stay connected with you. We do have pop-up events, so if you see us around, wave at us, shake at us something. We also are conducting rider surveys throughout the year, where we can let real life engagement from those that ride and those that are thinking about riding. One of the key things that GBTC brought back this year was the holiday ride. And, you don't think anything of it, you think, getting on the city bus, no big deal. Well, most of the riders from that holiday ride actually drove to the GBTC to get on the bus, to go see their local neighborhood lights. And so this year we are expanding it, hopefully with some more sponsorships and partnerships to be able to take them throughout the region to see the Christmas lights. But a lot of people talk about how fun it was. And it got people on the bus that had never been. So GBTC has been trying to plan those outreach events, and of course Nexus is here to help. We also have public art, including our bus shelters that have been placed at different stops, where they have commissioned the Gary Arts Council to design and highlight certain neighborhoods within the bus shelters and the arts. And then school partnerships, IUN, Gary Community Schools, Hageman College, Ivy Tech. So we are furthering that reach. And then for senior partnerships to make sure that those that are aging gracefully in our neighborhoods have access to their appointments and be able to shop.
So we're also part of the Dairy Age Friendly Advisory Council and a growing number of advisory councils that AARP sponsors in the city of Indiana. I think we're the same.
And so there are ways to partner if you have your organization is ever looking. Here I am going to give you that spiel. But we do get funds various ways. One, of course, is unlocking match funds by getting a sponsorship or a partnership and then being able to unlock matching funds. You can also, like we talked about, wrapping the bus. Sponsorships, whether they are sponsoring fairs, advertising, things of that nature. We are glad and happy to partner with you. Support service, partnerships that help connect riders, and then of course just strengthening the community. Again, we will have engagement, outreach, engagement opportunities. And so if you would like us to gather in your group, we will be happy to meet you there. Or you can definitely advertise with GPTC. As David mentioned, with the Wrapping the Bus, there's also advertisements within those buses at the top levels, and those are very impactful. My business partner and I, we run a local festival, and we get quite a bit. When we advertise inside the bus, we have quite a bit of turnout. So those are really amazing advertising.
So I think we tripled our attendance that
Yeah,
year.
we tripled our attendance that year. So I did pass out some handouts. I think I did pass out some handouts. I don't have enough for everyone, but you can always go to our boards on the side. There's a QR code, and it takes you to the live dynamic report that gives you all the stats.
This is our second presentation on the impact report we was the Health Equity Action Team and Health Design last week virtually, and we'll be doing a couple more in person. But our board, our management wanted to start the word out as we're getting out of that, that post-pandemic fog and actually starting to spread the wings that we already had, and that we're getting as we're getting things go back to normal. Starting that into that expansion phase. We can't expand if people don't know what we're doing. This is what we're doing. We thank you for sitting down and seeing this live. So are there any questions? First of all, is there anything that you need to ask?
Just that the bike shares almost doubled this year, so again, it seems to be picking up speed. And when you mention a little thing like going from Lake Street to West Beach, just I'm sure everybody in this room knows that that's across county.
Yep.
And we're definitely, seems like Porter County might be interested, so if anybody's interested in joining the coolness, and ideally, if we're talking about how we would love to see this go, because this bike share was built on data that we collected actually since being in our community for a decade, is ideally it would go with the bus routes and the train routes. That really is what economically would make sense, is not this bike share. And the reason we went off was because it's more ADA compliant as well.
Does anybody have any questions on this topic?
At any point, are you planning to incorporate this into the market agreement as well?
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to have bike share expansion without it. One thing that we have noticed, in addition to people who want to talk about the people who, the bulk of the people who have been using it who aren't college students, and actually some of the college students are using the regional bike trail. The Marquette Trail to West Beach, Beach Union Trail in Marquette Park, the Lakeside Trails in Hamlin Whiting. Closer, where you have transit access and trail access, that is the nexus of the activity.
Hey, that's the reason we're over there.
that we've been having.
Well, and so for instance, the Finnish ambassador definitely used the Market Greenway, which would totally make sense. You're going from side to side. And then our big ADA partner, because one of the big hard things with bike shares is to make it as equitable as possible, whether it's a technology barrier, an equipment barrier, is National Park. So we have a lending library at the National Park. If you know anybody who needs adapted bikes, they've got several there that we've over the last decade through various community partners been able to get funded. So it's a great way to make it a nexus.
And the fact that those bikes spent, I want to say 4 hours at the Douglas Center. I gotta make sure that the Park Service knows that. They talked about having an actual station at the Douglas Center, and people, I mean, that's, several people who've used it to get on the Market Trail to get to West Beach Center.
And some of the nuts and bolts people sometimes ask about it is that they're geolocated, so it also gives this whole footprint more of a national, international, global view.
Well, thank you for your report. I just wanted to note for the record that we've had several people come in. Mayor Angie from Michigan City is here, thank you. George Tobo, Union Township trustee, Martin Bobchek, Porter County Highway Engineer, and Eric. And I don't know if I missed anybody, but I did. Well, I've got Mr. Phelps from Beverly Shore. You snuck in.
Thank you for that.
Let's move on with the planning portion of our meeting. Yeah, I think we'll start with Stephen Hughes.
Good morning, everybody. We've got here Resolution 26-10, which is an amendment to the public participation plan, which we have named Engage NWI. Start real quick with the public comment report. This goes out for a 45-day public comment period, which obviously that's pretty long comment periods in order to ensure that the public has a real opportunity to make comment. That was from June 9th to July 23rd. Obviously, if something happens over a holiday like this did, it's nice that it's a nice broad time period so that nobody can say, oh no, I didn't know about it, there wasn't time to make comment. But we did not receive any comments from the public on this. So that's that piece of background. So moving on to what's actually being presented here. Federal law requires that MPOs have a public participation plan that has explicit procedures and strategies to include interested parties of the public. Specifically, there's an emphasis on traditionally underserved populations. That in many communities, that's going to look like minority, limited English proficiency, low income, low car ownership. There are maybe some kind of niche communities that may have additional groups that they specifically include, but for our purposes, that's all kind of spelled out in our plan. This plan was originally adopted in August of 19. It's been amended twice since then, most recently in March of this year. And background on the purpose of this particular amendment is that in our certification review, there was a corrective action issue that said that they wanted included in our plan specific outreach strategies to reach those traditionally underrepresented or underserved populations. FHWA reviewed our draft, made some comments. We incorporated those comments prior to the public comment draft going on. And what we've done is we basically created an appendix. So you'll see in your packet that that is the only piece that's being changed. There's a red line of the document. It's just the appendix that is being added. And FHWA said that they like what they see in that, and that they're asking us for some additional information, but that this is sufficient progress to meeting that, and then they just kind of want to see us put this into action which we're doing through our MTP process, which we've talked about in the past, and we'll be hearing more about in the future too. So, again, this adds Appendix A, procedures and strategies to engage interested parties, including traditionally underserved populations. It talks about how we go about identifying traditionally underserved populations and where we see high concentrations of traditionally underserved, we call those emphasized places. It also talks about how we do notice. So how it is that we get the word out that there's a plan for the public to be involved in. Additionally, it includes our strategies for outreach, the types and locations of meetings. Obviously, we'll do sort of formal meetings, but some of you have seen us at like the county fairs or at other local events. I believe we were at Gary's Juneteenth celebration. I think we're headed to the Butterfly Festival, and a number of other things throughout the region. We're trying to kind of explain what those types of meetings are, what sort of things we'll be doing there, and then how we explain how we choose those strategies to reach out. Particularly in the event of communities where maybe there's not high technology literacy, how are we reaching the people? And then location guidelines for the meetings, making sure that they're, wherever possible, transit accessible, and open to the public at times when the public could be expected to attend. And again, all of that is detailed out in the link that was sent, and it's been out for public comment. So I'm happy to address any questions.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
I know I've talked enough. However, a few years ago, I talked briefly about one great way of getting input from other populations is by taking meetings like this, like some of the commission meetings, on the road.
Yes.
There are multiple locations in downtown Gary, downtown Hammond, downtown Michigan City that are transit accessible, 15-minute rides, and you're bringing these facts, this information, this accessibility to hundreds of thousands of people who wouldn't be able to get there without side. So yes, technically, NERC is transit accessible, but it is by far the least transit accessible major MPO in Indiana.
I think that's fair to say. And I think that's something that we are aware of, take it seriously. It's not something that we wanted to specifically say we will do this for these meetings, largely due to the fact that what if in 1 year there's not an opportunity for us to do that? Then we've obligated ourselves to something that didn't happen. So we do take that seriously, and we do know that it's something that would help with our ability to get good public comment. And that's part of why we do have our meetings for things like the TIP and the MTP adoption in those places that are transit accessible, is to make sure that we do get, and I'll say fixed route transit accessible, to make sure that we do get those communities that might not be able to get here otherwise. So the point is well taken.
Yeah, talk to Indy MPO, talk to MACOG, Allen County, and Northeast Indiana. I mean, they do this for these kinds of meetings. So they may be able to, answer any questions you've got, or give you some best practices on how to do it without jeopardizing, quorum or anything like that.
Any other comments? Thank you, David.
Yes, and I would like to add to that, because I was going to make the same suggestion, is that I know Michigan City, we have large events, and it would be nice to have representation there at those events, specifically where residents are at. I mean, right downtown, you get right off and walk anywhere pretty much, right, in our north end, and there's no, there should be plenty of opportunities for that to happen. So, just let me know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, if I can just respond to that. That is, Steve mentioned this, but that is the strategy that we're employing for outreach for the development of the MTP, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Specifically, moving away from the idea of holding formal meetings here at our office because of, for one thing, it's hard to get people to come out to a meeting unless there's some controversial topic that's being addressed. And secondly, just to kind of shift the burden of going to the place to the NERC staff so we can go out to the existing community event where people already are there rather than asking people to come to us. So that's one of the strategies that's identified in our MTP outreach strategy, but also in this document, and we call it a pop-up meeting. So anytime you see like the word pop-up, that's referring to us going out into the community where people are already gathering so that they can give input on our work.
And when we do have the formal meetings where it's, NERC is hosting a meeting, please come give us a comment. We do set those up in transit accessible locations, one in each county, at least one in each county. So that is something that we do, and we're trying to get to everybody's community as best we can. Obviously, with 41 communities that we're working with, it's hard, but
I get that, but
Michigan City, Chicago, Gary, and Valparaiso all have fairly certain areas that are those emphasized places, and we are making the effort to make sure that we have those events in the city or in, if possible, in the actual specific sort of neighborhood, since it's Walker that is identified as one of those emphasized places.
And the agency needs to help with the elected officials to promote, to host these events. They've come to the administration building for County City Hall, Belleville. It's just, it gives a new, fresh audience to it. You're correct. It's a different audience that might come here to Portage. So I think it's a good suggestion.
Commissioner, can I ask one follow-up?
Sure.
Gretchen, do we have a date for the festival first this year?
Yes, September 19th.
Is there going to be a nonprofit corridor?
Yes.
All right. You always have a table there.
Mm-hmm.
Join us. When I get the word, I will copy Stephen. We can make a day of it.
Excellent.
I'll buy you ice cream.
I'll take you up on that. I've got kids, they can all my ice cream.
You didn't have to do that, but
or anything else on Lake Street.
We need an action for recommendation to the executive board or full commission on this resolution 2610. Do I have that?
yes, I recommend that we move this forward. Resolution 2610.
Thank you, Mayor Angie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone against?
Thanks.
So moved. Thank you. Now we'll move on to Mr. Weber. Scott Weber is going to be talking about Resolution 2611, approving a technical amendment to NWI 2050, adding a system performance report.
Good morning. So I'm going to talk about Resolution 26-11, which refers to a technical amendment to NWI 2050 Plus, adding a system performance report. And the memo that refers to this presentation begins on page 9 of your agenda packets, and the resolution itself begins on page 12. The actual content of the technical amendment for the system performance report can be could be found online before this meeting. It was a little bit too long to fit in the packet, so I will refer to it by reference. So just some background here. The System Performance Report is a federally required component of a metropolitan transportation plan, such as NWI 2050 Plus. And specifically, the federal requirement can be found in 23 CFR 450.324 Section F4. And the System Performance Report is required to evaluate the condition and performance of the transportation system with respect to the required performance targets and describe the progress since the last System Performance Report. In this case, this is our first go at a System Performance Report, so we don't do that this time, but we will make sure that we track that for our next one. And this also is part 3 of a 3-part corrective action, a federal planning certification review corrective action that occurred last August. And actually, parts 1 and 2, parts 1 was the project description being more detailed, and part 2 was the financial plan. This committee looked at about a year ago on August 5th, so this is part 3, the System Performance Report. So once this gets passed, which we hope it does, then it should satisfy the corrective action. And we've heard informally from our federal partners that it would satisfy the corrective action. And so just some further background, performance-based planning and programming has been around for about a decade, but has been phased in gradually. And this report is organized into 5 categories of performance measures: highway safety, pavement and bridge condition, system performance, freight and congestion mitigation, air quality, transit asset management, and transit safety. So I will briefly describe each of these 5 categories. Highway safety, and you've probably heard a lot of these performance measures being referred to before in previous presentations to this committee and to the Surface Transportation Committee before this, and we've created to show demonstrations of the dashboard that has this information. But basically, so I'm going to be brief here. There's 5 required performance measures in the area of highway safety: number of fatalities, the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, the number of serious injuries, the rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries combined. And how the process works is that every year, these are set every year, INDOT sets statewide targets for the state, and then we have 180 days as the MPO and NERC to adopt those statewide targets or set our own. We've thus far only elected to adopt the statewide targets. We haven't set our own at this point. And then every 2 years, we have to include the targets as part of the documentation in our TIP process, our Transportation Improvement Program, or our MTP. So here's a summary of the actual performance of the highway safety performance measures. So I'm not going to read this whole table, but I've highlighted in red those times where we have not met the targets, at least as a state, that NERC has adopted. And those are in 2014 to 2018, so that's the 5-year rolling average ending in the year 2018. The target for the number of fatalities was 814.9 statewide. The actual performance was 833.4 when it was the 5-year moving average. So that did not meet that target. And then looking at that year 2017 to 2021, again, we didn't quite meet the target for actual number of fatalities, nor did we meet the target for the fatality rate, and nor did we meet the target for the actual number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. In the following year, the 18 to 22 targets, we didn't meet them for any of the targets that year. And then for the 19 to 2023, we as a state didn't meet the target for the actual number of fatalities, for the actual number of serious injuries, for the serious injury rate, or for the non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And then for the 2024 target, we didn't meet them for the actual number of serious injuries, the serious injury rate, or the actual number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So overall, out of the possible completed target cycles that the state has gone through this far, we've met 19 out of 35, or a 54.3% success rate. Now, I will note later in the presentation that there's no penalty to NERC for failing to meet a target. We just have to describe the performance. And then, so these are some of the actions that are described in the report that NERC facilitates to make progress on the safety performance measure targets. Again, we have to describe in this report how we make progress. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but you've probably heard about most of them. But for example, we serve on the Indiana MPO Council Safety Committee and reviewed INDOT's draft targets, as well as the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute's annual safety report in order to come up with the statewide targets. We dedicate a set aside of our Highway Safety Improvement Program to conduct road safety audits. A lot of communities have already participated in this process. We continue to do that on an ongoing basis. We developed a 3-county Safe Streets and Roads for All regional safety action plan that we just started the contracts with for the next year or so. But we've also facilitated those communities that have already been funded for the Safe Streets and Roads for All program, and we've helped serve those communities as well in their own plans. We prioritize safety improvements in the project selection criteria for projects in the NOFA process for the Transportation Improvement Program. We hosted the Health by Design Vision Zero workshop a year ago. Thank you, David, for that. And we continue to try to promote Vision Zero in communities and on social media in order to try to get traction. We support NDOT and its consultants to develop and update its vulnerable user roadways assessments. We map crash locations and hotspots as part of our dashboard that Grace has presented on in the past. So these are some of the activities that we've facilitated to help move the needle on the highway safety targets. So now I'm going to go into the next category of targets, which are the pavement and bridge condition targets. These are called PM2 in the federal highway lingo. And there are 6 2-year and 4-year pavement and bridge condition performance measures that are required that we set targets on as a state. The percentage of lane miles on the interstate system in good condition, the percentage of lane miles on the interstate system in poor condition, the percentage of lane miles on the non-interstate national highway system in good condition, the percentage of lane miles on the non-interstate national highway system in poor condition, the percentage of the national highway system bridge deck area in good condition, and the percentage of national highway system bridge deck area in poor condition. Now, for these targets, they're not set every year, unlike the safety targets. They're actually set every 4 years. The state sets both 2-year and 4-year targets. And so far, there have been 2 performance periods. There was a performance period from 2017 to 2021, and then there's a performance period that's just wrapping up from 2022 to 2025. We haven't gotten the final numbers from all that second performance period yet. But basically, so every 4 years, NDOT will set 2-year and 4-year targets. And then we also still have 180 days to decide whether to adopt the state targets or set our own. So far, we've only decided to adopt the statewide targets. That makes sense because in the vast majority of cases, NDOT is the entity that manages the interstates and national highway system. So it wouldn't really make sense for us to set our own targets here in NERC. NDOT then can decide at the 2-year point of that performance period whether to adjust the 4-year targets that they set, depending on how well they're making progress toward that 4-year target. And then NERC has to likewise include those targets in our transportation planning processes, our TIP and our MTP. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically for pavement and bridge condition, we did well. We, as a state, 14 out of 16 possible completed target cycles for an 87.5% success rate. The times that we did not meet the target were in 2019. There was a target set for 78.7% of the percentage of non-interstate national highway systems in good condition, and we only achieved 44.8%. And then in also that same year, there was a target set for 48.3% of the national highway system bridge deck area in good condition, and we achieved just shy of that at 48.00% of the bridge deck area in good condition. So, we did pretty well overall. Otherwise, we met all the targets that we set for pavement and bridge. And then actions that we've taken to facilitate meeting the pavement bridge targets. Again, we don't really have that much say directly in NERC because it's mainly NDOT domain. But we include phaser ratings and bridge inventory ratings in the project selection scoring criteria for the TIP NOFA. We review drafts of NDOT's transportation asset management plans. We participate in NDOT-led corridor studies and the statewide corridor planning study. We map pavement and bridge conditions as part of the development of our NWA 2050+ plan and the update that we're working on right now. And we also, there's a roads chapter as part of our NWA 2050+ that includes an objective related to maintaining pavements in satisfactory condition and another objective that relates to maintaining bridges in a state of good repair. So now the next category of performance measures that I'll briefly describe are system performance rate and congestion mitigation air quality, otherwise called PM3 in the federal highway lingo. And there are 7 2-year and 4-year system performance rate and CMAQ performance measures required.
By the way, this is on pages 9 and 10 of your report.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to go down every item, but if you could get to the...
Yeah, the memo will actually include this detail, so and the report itself that you can find. So I'll just kind of speed up through this.
Thank you.
But yeah, these are the required performance measures for system performance rate and CMAQ. You can read what those are, and we presented them in the past. And it's the same cycle as for the pavement and bridge condition in terms of every 4 years there's 2-year and 4-year targets, and so far we adopted the statewide targets. And then there's 2 additional in the same category of performance measures that are CMAQ traffic congestion performance measures. These, instead of applying in the statewide geography, they apply the urbanized area geography of Chicago, Illinois, Indiana urbanized area as a whole. So we have to coordinate with the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning IDOT, NDOT on these targets, and those are percentage of non-single occupancy vehicle work commute. So in other words, the percentage of people that don't drive alone in their car to work, and then also the peak hours of excessive delay per capita on the national highway system. And in this category of performance measures, first of all, I'll start with the statewide ones. Out of the 9 that I mentioned, we've met 7 out of 9 of these, so that's a 77.8% success rate. And then we also, additionally, there are emissions reduction performance measures that apply to the statewide, and we met 12 out of 16 of these for a 75% success rate. We described when we set targets so far. And then for the system performance rate and CMAQ performance measures, we met 4 out of 6 possible ones, so that's a 66.7% success rate there. We were very close, as you can see, to when we didn't meet them. We were off by fractions of a percentage.
Is that a single percentage for the entire Chicago? I mean,
yeah.
Is there a Northwest Indiana percentage?
I
know it ain't 39%.
We don't have that currently. We can follow up and try to.
Could we? Yeah, I would love to see that.
Okay. Yeah, because we're not required to report this. It's only required to be urbanized areas specifically. And these are a long list of actions that we facilitate to make progress on this category of performance measures. And so I'll just go through some of the brief highlights. For example, we reorganized the former technical planning committee into this newly created transportation committee that combines the surface transportation committee with the freight stakeholders here. And we'd like to see more turnout in that community, but that's one of the actions that we've done. And of course, we map all these measures as part of our performance measure dashboard that we've seen presented on here. So those are just a couple areas that we've done. Transit asset management is the next category I'm going to go through. We have some transit stakeholders here. And so basically these requirements came out in like 2017, 2018. It's described in your packet, but there are 3 annual transit asset management measures that are required, and then 4 that NERC has included as well, in addition, as part of its TAM plan, its transit asset management plan. And so the first 3 bullet points are federally required. Percentage of revenue vehicles that have met or exceeded their useful life benchmark, percentage of non-revenue vehicles that have met or exceeded their useful life benchmark, the percentage of facilities rated below 3 on the FTA term scale, and then additionally we have our own measures. I'm not going to read them, but those are that NERC has added to its TAM plan that's already out there in the public domain. So we're going to still include them as far as reporting. And the process for setting these transit asset management measures is different than the federal highway measures in that there's no prescribed time frame per se where you have to, there's a certain performance period, you set 2-year and 4-year targets. Here, they're just updated as needed. They're periodically reviewed by the FTA's triennial review process. And I want to note that we have some direct recipients. So NICD, GPTC, and Michigan City Transit will develop their own TAM plans. But then the sub-recipients that NERC administers, the other transit operators, participate in NERC's group TAM plan as far as how the process works for these. And so I'm just going to kind of summarize the NERC group TAM plan performance here. And there is a slight typo here. I miscounted the number of times that we missed targets. We've actually had 23 out of 42 possible completed target cycles. So it's actually a 54.8% success rate if you were to look at the amount of red in cells here. But basically, we have targets of less than 20% of our revenue vehicles that have met or exceeded useful life, less than 10% target for non-revenue vehicles, less than 10% of facilities rated below 3 on term scale, and then the others aren't required, so we won't go through them. But those are where we've missed the targets for the transit asset management. And then some actions that we've facilitated to make progress on these targets. We include adherence to the transit asset management plan, a good history of preventative maintenance, and inclusion of the state QPA or other purchase agreement as scoring criteria for a NOFA selection process. Like I said, we've adopted a transit asset management plan for a group plan, and we coordinate with our other direct recipients on developing. We post links to their transit asset management plans on our website. Then the final category of performance measures that are described in this technical amendment are transit safety. And there are 5 transit safety performance measures that are required, 9 total, because 4 of these have both totals and rates per vehicle revenue mile. So the one is the number of fatalities and the rate of fatalities per vehicle revenue miles, the number of injuries and rate of injuries, the number of major safety and security events and rate of major events, the mean number of vehicle revenue miles between major mechanical system failures, and then newly added during the Biden administration was the number of assaults on transit workers and the rate of assaults on transit workers per vehicle revenue miles. And then this document that houses these performance measures is called the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, or PTASPs, which again, the process is that there's no, unlike the highway measures, there's no set time frame, but they're updated as needed and annually reviewed. All transit providers, except for NICTY, there's an exception for agencies that are primarily commuter rail agencies, they don't have to do PTASPs, but all of our other transit providers in our region are required to, and we maintain as records of our subrecipients PTASPs as part of the triennial review that we facilitate, but our other direct recipients have their own triennial review schedules and processes, so we don't keep tabs per se on their transit safety measures, but we're still documenting. So here are the transit safety performance, just a summary of them. We actually done very well on these. We've met 25 out of 27 of the targets here. I will note there is a typo that we do have to correct between this the packet that you saw online and the Executive Board Commission approval of this, and that is we forgot to express the number of transit worker assaults of rate as well. So that's highlighted at the bottom. It's still zeros there, but that is since it's a requirement. I want to make sure that that gets included in the motion and correction for the approval. And here are some of the actions that we facilitate to make progress on transit safety targets. I'm not going to read all of these, but basically we adhere to a safe systems approach, and we worked with INDOT corridor studies, for example, the Broadway corridor study that we've obtained input from GPTC, and we targeted transit safety elements, and we administered the FTA drug-free workplace standards for sub-recipients, for example. So, in conclusion, the system performance report is required as part of NWIA 2050 Plus and must be amended to satisfy the certification review corrective action. We've met, this is going to be slightly off because that one typo I just noted, but we've met 82 out of 115 targets during completed target cycles, or just under 72% success rate. There is no penalty for NERC failing to meet targets, and the US DOT staff formally reviewed the report and unofficially notified NERC staff that the system performance report will satisfy the corrective action. So specifically, what actions would I be asking? So this would mean that this would be resolution 26-11 would be processed as a technical amendment. Specifically, it would be modifying technical appendix 1 that you could find on our website and on NWIA 2050 Plus, begin on page 535. And the contents that you see currently on page 535 will change to the content that you will find on that web link that went up for this meeting announcement. And then that would also mean that technical appendix 2, which is the financial plan, which currently begins on 538, will begin on a later page because this will be a longer technical appendix 1 than is currently in there. So those are the changes that I'd be asking for. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Under your transit safety performance measures, the third bullet point refers to major events. But can you give me an example of what you mean by a major event?
So it's specifically defined in the rulemakings that FTA releases. I believe these would be perhaps disruptive events to service that are called out for security or safety reasons. I don't know
If it's over $20,000 in damage or someone goes to the hospital.
So it's not like the Cubs won the World Series, right? And everybody's going downtown. That's not a major event. The major event is an incident that is some large scale damage.
Right, a major report going to that, because I have to do those reports.
Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. I was curious in the same way.
Yeah, thank you.
Having said that, do we have any other questions for Scott? If not, do we have a motion for a recommendation to the Executive Board, full Commission?
Mr. Chairman, I move to make a favorable recommendation to the full Commission, Executive Board to adopt Resolution 26-11 as amended, approving the technical amendment to the 2050 Plus plan having system performance report.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mayor Angie. Any other discussion? Saying none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? So moved. Let's move on. Thank you, Scott. Next we have Charles Bradsky making his report of the Transportation Improvement Program amendments.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to thank Gary Public Transit for giving us ample time to discuss our other. The public comment report is on page 14 for amendments 26-08.1 and 26-08.5. 26-08.1 is an infrastructure amendment with federal highway funds, and 26-08.5 is the transit amendment. And the 21-day public comment period began on July 2nd and ended on July 22nd. There were no public comments on either one of these amendments. NERC staff also sent the amendments to the Interagency Consultation Group, or the ICG. That's because we love acronyms. For both amendments, actually it was sent to the ICG on June 24th for 26-8.1 and July 6th for 26-08.5. There were no questions or comments from any members of the ICG, and concurrence was given for both of these amendments by the members of the ICG. Moving on to the memo, there are in 20, there's a typo here, but in 26-08.1, there are 30 projects that belong to NDOT, and I've listed those on page 15 to give you a generic, basic overlay of what those projects are. I generally don't go into comment because those are on the state roads and the state highways. However, for the local projects, I do go into more in depth, and that's on page 16. There were 13 projects in 26-08.1, and these are for the municipalities of Burns Harbor, Cedar Lake, Chesterton, Hammond, LaPorte County, Lowell, Maryville, Michigan City. There were 2 for NERC, Porter County, Cherville, and St. John. And I list those projects. A list of that amendment can be found on the NERC's website or the RTIP website at www.rtip.com, I believe. Or, excuse me. And then Amendment 26-08.5 includes 4 projects for NICD. So they are all new projects. On page 17, there's the resolution 26-12 is asking for a recommendation from this committee to approve these amendments so that they can proceed to the commission.
That would cover all the amendments. Do we have any questions for Charles? If not, can I have a motion to make a recommendation to the Executive Board Full Commission?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wright. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? So moved. Let's go on to the administrative modifications projects. Charles.
So on page 19, which is 5.3 on the docket, is the administrative modification report that And actually, it includes 3 months because we didn't meet last month. Normally, it includes just 2 months. And NERC normally puts out an administrative modification every month. We send that to NDOT. Those are minor changes to projects. So what we have shown on here, there's 23 projects for NDOT, and then 28 projects for locals. I am not going to read these, as we all can read. If you have any, is there any questions?
Those are all on pages 20 and 21 of today's.
19 and 21.
Well, 19 are the NDOT projects.
Yes.
Charles, where are we at with the admin nods that we talked about for the two flexed capital projects for GPTC? We are wanting to, I wanted to add that when we added the, for our super grant, when we added the 2026 money, including the flex money, but it sounds like the flex money that we flexed this year is probably going to be ready before that. Can you give me a status, or at least talk about it after the meeting? But it's something that's come up internally, and we wanted to get a status on that.
On FY27 funds?
No, the two
FY26.
capital projects that are currently in the TIP, the driver training simulator and vehicle. So we wanted to have converted to operating, but that was going to be, thought that was going to be an admin mod. We can talk offline, but it's something we need the status on.
Yeah, let's talk.
Okay.
After the meeting.
Okay.
About that.
Thank you both.
Yeah, I did not get the transit admin mods in here, and that's on me.
Well, sounds like it can be taken care of pretty short order. So.
Yeah. Any other questions about the administrative modifications that we have shown?
Just receiving that for information today, and thank you for your comments. That'll do it. Charles, thank you. Reports from planning partners. Ryan doesn't have much to say today, I'm sure.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So there's a grant program that's out with, it's a community partnership grant program focusing on control of invasive species, capture and treatment of stormwater runoff, restoration of Great Lakes shoreline.
Can you speak up, Ryan?
My apologies. And riparian corridors, restore, enhance, protect coastal wetlands, near shore, and other habitats. It's up to $300,000 per project award. There's no match required. There is a $1.1 million available. This is an 18-month project period, which applications are due November 13th, but letters of intent are due September 4th. We still have charging stations that are available for donation. If interested, please connect with me. There will be non-federal funding for clean diesel replacements coming out in October. This is the last round of Volkswagen settlement, so please plan around that. And we do have some charging stations opening through the Go Green Guyana program with pilot travel centers in the city of Gary, Mr. Fuel, right next to Hard Rock Casino. And we do have deployments with Sherrill Automotive, South Shore Jaguar dealership, Viking Medical Center, and Porter County Convention Recreation Community Center over Porter. As far as that, there's some upcoming events. We have the Clean Air Golf Outing coming up on August 25th. On September 17th, we will be hosting a National Drive Electric Week Ride and Drive event here at NERC at 10:30 a.m. Immediately preceding the Executive Board Commission. And then we have the Drive Clean Indiana Clean Tech Conference that is going to be having our headlining speaker, Mayor Angie from the city of Michigan City. Any questions? All
We'll make it easy for you today.
Thank you.
And you did say that letter of intent is going to be by September 4th.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other staff announcements or updates?
I have a few.
Thank you.
I will be brief. Just want to update the committee on a number of initiatives that we're working on here at NERC. The Metropolitan Transportation Plan update is underway. We're reaching the end of the existing conditions phase. So the major deliverable for that phase is called the Regional Profile and Performance Report. You've seen kind of segments of it being presented here at the committee related to each one of the chapters. We're compiling all that information into a single report, and it's kind of undergoing its final revisions. We expect it to be released imminently, at which time we'll post it on our website and we'll let everyone know that it's out via email. That's a document that contains a number of performance measures and metrics that we use to gauge the health of the region and our progress towards meeting our goals. Public engagement continues related to the MTP. So as I mentioned earlier, NERC staff has been out and about in the region doing pop-up engagements at various community events. We just wrapped up an appearance at the Porter County Fair, which was very well attended. We got a lot of good input there. And we will be at the Lake County Fair next week. In addition to, sort of beyond the fairs, we will be going to other events throughout the region, including farmers markets, and those events will be posted on our MTP page on our website. And we'll try to coordinate with the local elected officials in those communities and let them know when we're going to be out there. We also have a survey, an input survey, which is now live on our website. You can scan this QR code on right now and take the survey if you'd like, or just bookmark it. We'd appreciate all the input that we can get, especially from committee members and members who are attending this meeting. And then finally, on the MTP, we have begun meeting with stakeholders in the assessment phase of the plan. So we'll be reviewing all the data that we've compiled and working with stakeholders for each of the plan chapters to review the strategies that we had included in our previous long-range plan, update those strategies, evaluate them, determine whether or not we want to carry them over into the new plan, and then work with everyone to identify specific implementation actions. So we want to know what are the priorities for the region, where can NERC lead, and where can NERC support. That's sort of the direction of the plan for this update. Road safety audits, we are moving forward with the road safety audit program this year. We have virtual meetings scheduled with Cedar Lake, Crown Point, Dyer, Hammond, Highland, Griffith, and Porter County all next week. So we'll be doing our initial meetings, reviewing crash data, and discussing safety concerns and existing conditions at those road safety audit locations. Following the virtual meetings, we'll be doing in-person field visits with all the communities. A new project that we're kicking off is the Regional Safety Action Plan. So we just executed a contract with Lockmuller to develop the RSAP, RSAP is I think how we're pronouncing that acronym. That is a project that's funded through a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. So public outreach has begun. We do now have a website and a survey, which is live. This is the flyer for that. That has the information on the website and the survey. QR code on that flyer as well that you can scan and take that survey. This plan will encompass all of Lake, Porter, and LaPorte County, so it's a regional plan. But the major focus of the plan will be on the unincorporated areas and the road network that's under the jurisdiction of the counties. We expect the recommendations of the plan to focus primarily on those networks, but they will also include recommendations for regional level policies and programs. So it is important that municipalities be involved in this plan as well, because our regional policies will affect, planning and programming that will for your communities. So even though we may not look as closely at the roads in the unincorporated areas, we will be looking at ways that NERC can support those municipalities in their own safety efforts. So very important to participate in that plan if you are able. And then just the goal of this plan is to have a regional plan that would then qualify the entire region to apply for implementation funding through the Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A program. Let's see, so the NOFA, we will be opening a notice of funding availability this fall for the 2028 through 2032 TIP. We expect that to be out on the streets in September. We're currently reviewing and refining the programming rules and project selection criteria from the last NOFA. What we're trying to do is make no real major changes to any of those, either the rules or the criteria, but we want to just try to clarify some of the stuff as well as we can. We know that some of the language has been ambiguous or maybe unclear in the past, so we're going through all that to try and just make it a little more little easier to understand, and hopefully all the communities can, fill out their applications correctly the first time, and there's not a lot of dispute over the awarding of points.
Charles help you.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about that, please contact Charles. He is the lead on that project. And then finally, Mitch Barloga in the back here is putting together a webinar on e-bikes, e-scooters, personal e-vehicles. Mitch, would you like to
say a few words?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so over the last, couple of years, especially of late, there's been a lot of hand-wringing and everything else regarding e-vehicles. Personal electric vehicles, as they're called, not only here but throughout the country, regarding ordinances, regarding policies, and being a trail user, as you know myself, and a trail builder, I get a lot of comments and complaints about them, and I have personally been nearly run over several times by these vehicles and people on them, and of course I think we're all encountering them on the streets and everything else. So what I'm going to attempt to do is untie the complexity behind these transportation modes. The webinar will be on August 27th, it's a Thursday. It'll be at 10 a.m. to 12, and it's free. And it is a webinar, so you can attend in your pajamas. We won't judge you. But on that note, we're going to do our best to demystify the issue, bring forward some best practices. We have Valparaiso showing up. They'll be talking about their e-bike ordinance. Fort Wayne will be presenting on enforcement, because isn't that the secret sauce of getting this all done? So we're going to talk about those, and again, we'll get out the notice. We did get a save the date out to most of you, and we'll get out the notice via the newsletter, and probably I'll get some more personal emails out to the link for the webinar. So we hope you can join us. Thank you.
Any questions for Mitch? George?
Yes. I know that it's not only our subdivision, but there are young people that are on county roads that are driving bikes and other electric vehicles, like little cars and things. And I think it's probably in another, if we can come out to the communities and bring maybe Mitch or somebody to discuss those things, or try to get those people involved who are the POA leaders, and work with the county or whatever the situation is in those particular subdivisions, see if we could preclude accidents before they happen.
Yeah, it really is a safety factor. I think City of Valpo recognized that as trying to wrestle with an ordinance.
Well, in our case,
but you have hoverboards and scooters, bikes,
right.
golf carts.
Of course, you know what subdivision I'm talking about, but it's a significant issue.
It's happening all over.
I figured
it's not exclusive.
Just to speak to VAPA, so our council members work closely with the police department. So I always say initially, please reach out to the sheriff's department.
Well, maybe could I get a copy of the ordinance so I can share it with our POA to see if we can. Not that we have enforcement there, it's the sheriff's department.
Yeah, we can send that to you.
Okay, thank you.
That's a key thing. It's complex. It's just like any other traffic stop. There's so many rules that you have to observe.
But it's amazing to see things that happen in the streets, in the neighborhoods.
Especially at the speeds that can go now.
Oh, yeah, sometimes 35 miles an hour.
If I could make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I think, and I don't want to steal any Vision's thunder, but I think that we all need to also be talking to our Indiana state legislators, because the current state of the law is that those electric bicycles or electric vehicles are treated the same as bicycles for the most part until you get to level 3. And so I think that, there needs to be some action downstate that either lets home rule deal with that or changes the law to an extent that they can be enforced.
Any other comments, questions? Did we have any other staff reports today?
I just have one other announcement related to an upcoming meeting. We had previously advertised a meeting to take place on October 27. That meeting was moved from November 3rd to October 27 to avoid election day. It's now been made apparent that there's a conflict on the 27th as well with the Indiana NPO conference, which a number of staff here attend annually. So what we're going to do is actually move that meeting from October 27 to November 10th. So we will get that notification out so that everyone can have that on their calendars. But
we're talking TBC. This
yeah,
meeting.
transportation committee.
Or transportation.
Can you state that again? Sorry.
It's going to be November 10th.
That's TPC?
Transportation Committee. TC now.
Okay, what?
The old TPC.
This meeting?
Yes.
This meeting.
Lots of letters.
So we will send out a cancellation notice and we will send out a rescheduling notice. So just to remind everybody.
I would announce that our next meeting will be September 1st in this room at 10 o'clock. Key Rock for LaPorte County will be August 25th at 1 o'clock. Key Rock for Lake and Porter counties will be August 25th at 9 a.m. NERC Executive Board will be August 20th at 9 a.m. in this room. And Environmental Committee will be August 6th in this room. George, when's your next meeting for
the people? Academy Place?
Yes.
October 2nd.
So George will be October 2nd.
I think it's October 6th.
Well, we'll send out notices.
It's in October.
Anybody else have any other announcements? Anything else good for the cause? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you.
Was 7.1 missed on the agenda?
No, there were no committee appointments.
Okay, so we don't have to do that.
No.
You've already been appointed.
Gotcha.
You're good.
Perfect.
We're done. Thank you.